The Self-Publishing Show is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid has been my go-to tool for revising and refining my writing since my first book. Built by writers for writers, it's more than just a grammar and spell checker. Pro Writing Aid helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. It can even provide on-demand developmental feedback on your entire manuscript with its new manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Get ahead of the competition by heading to prowritingaid.com and sign up for free using the code IWC15 for a 15% discount off annual subscriptions.
Publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers. No more barriers. No one standing between you and your readers. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Show. My name is James Blatch.
My name is Sissy Mecca.
We are in the United Kingdom still, your last 24 hours together. You're in my office, my hallowed little office. You finally come to see us.
Yes, I see all of your books back there. I see my book back there.
Well spotted.
There's The Lord's Captive. I love the office. It looks great. It's a little changed around from when I was here last time.
Yeah, we had a little move around, a little refresh. A lot of Star Wars stuff the other side of the screen that you can't see. And I had, talking about books, I had a unique experience today. First time ever as an author going to a bookshop and finding a copy of my book.
That was exciting.
On a shelf, which I secretly signed, and then went downstairs and told them I just signed it. And they were very pleased. I was very pleased. They were pleased. And I was thinking, it's a lovely little bookshop. And I was thinking maybe in Cambridge that I launch my fifth book, I will do it in there.
That's a great idea. And he seemed very nice, the gentleman who owned it. You bought a book while you were there to support them?
I bought a Raymond Bennett Bond book. And just down the road from that bookshop is another independent bookshop in Cambridge. Cambridge is the sort of place like Oxford probably, maybe Cambridge, Massachusetts is the same in America. I'm not sure what the equivalent towns are, where there is a possibility of having these independent little bookshops. There's not many of them left, but they're springing up next to each other. And our friend Kel Curtis,
love her.
She's amazing. She's bought a bookshop in Oxford and is opening a bookshop in Oxford. And I think another bookshop, a romantasy bookshop, opened in Oxford today. So this is good news.
And same thing is happening in the States. I absolutely love it. There are 2 bookshops in the town where I am from. I love the whole indie bookshop resurgence and hope it continues.
Yeah, I mean, it's Bodies in the Bookshop. I forgot the name of it briefly. That's the name of the bookshop that my book was in. And they are very happy to have indie books in there. They're not remotely snobbish about it like the older books. And in fact, Waterstones, which is our main chain in the UK, it's the Barnes & Noble equivalent, and funnily enough, linked together now because the same man, an investment company, run both chains. They've become very pro-indie and it's very likely that if you have a relationship with your local Barnes & Noble now in America or your local Waterstones here in the UK, you'll get your books in there as an indie, which didn't used to happen. It used to be very corporate, but they've changed that. So, okay, look, in this episode... Sorry, did I talk over you?
No. Did I talk over you?
No, it's okay. Right. It's a bit weird looking at ourselves. We're looking at ourselves. You look very Italian today.
Do I?
Do you think you look Italian today?
Maybe it's the
shawl.
The shawl. I think it's probably the shawl.
Yeah. We talked a couple of weeks ago about how to make the most of a live event. Well, we've just been to 2 live events. A big one, 500 authors and service providers and speakers at Self-Publishing Show Live in London. And we followed that by what we call a writer's retreat, but really was more of a mastermind event in Cambridge with 32 authors, a much smaller group. And the mastermind event, writer's retreat, whatever you want to call it, was a very useful way of processing what we learnt in London and people standing up in a kind of show and tell thing. So we had people presenting on ads, we had people presenting on AI productivity, we had people presenting on co-writing. We had 2 writers' workshops, one to benefit me, run by Tom Donnelly, who is used to working in a room together with writers to get a script out and a plot out. So we talked about my next book, and we talked about Rachel Maraji's next book, which is a mafia romance, which was a great experience. So we've noted down our kind of takeaways from the 2 conferences. So we're not going to talk in general terms about going to a live event. We've done that. We're going to talk specifically about what we've learned over the last week, and hopefully some of these points will be of use to you.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. If you've got something, you've got the notes.
I do have the notes. I was going to be sneaky about it, like, oh, we just remember all of our takeaways, but
No, I think we can open the curtain a little bit.
okay. Well, here we go. I'm going to look at my notes. The very first thing I have on there is paperback bundles for direct sales. This isn't in any specific order. So that was during the retreat mastermind. Went to a session, and it was kind of, we got there, discussed with everybody what they were good at, what they were interested in learning, and then just put kind of on the fly a little bit of a session schedule together for the course of 2 days. If people wanted to write, they could go off and write. If they wanted to come. So for each session, there might be 10 or 15, or some of the rooms were kind of packed with all the people. This was a smaller session where we just talked about some direct sales stuff. And I went because even though I'm KU, I actually am interested in more direct sales for paperbacks, right? So I have special editions on there and haven't really pushed them heavily yet. Right now I do special editions with BookVault, and then I order them and take them to events. So it's nice to have special editions for events. However, since everything is set up, I use PayHip and BookVault together. I do want to do more with them. And so I was talking with somebody. I have 40 some books, right, in 3 different pen names. And in that session, there was a woman, and I cannot remember her name. I'm so bad with names, you know that. She said, she's doing really well on her direct store, but it was the bundles. And that is not the first time I've heard that. To put bundles together. So
Was this Sasha?
No. This was at the retreat.
Oh, the retreats. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And specifically, I said, well, I've been kind of daunted by putting, all of Cecilia books, 25 books, one at a time. She said, instead of thinking of it as all your individual books or even by series, she said, start with one series. And sure, you can put them individually. She said, but bundles is where it's at. And I'm like, wait, so like a box set? No. Take book 1, put it up, then 2, then 3, then 4. And this is going to be such basic information to probably everybody who's doing direct sales. But since I don't do it a lot, I didn't really realize bundles is the way to go. And that's where she makes the most money.
You ship them as individual books, but you sell them as a bundle.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Because I would have thought, oh, okay, my box sets, right?
Yep.
No, you can just sell them as a bundle, and you can do different bundles. So I will have a bundle for that one particular series, but then also a bundle for, I was thinking as she talked and took some notes on an enemies to lovers bundle. And that could be, 4 books or something like that. My second question was, do I just go onto Amazon and order these? So it seemed like in the UK, there's a lot of UK authors. They use like BookVault even to send their just individual paperbacks. That's not something I've ever done before, where I sell individual paperbacks through BookVault. I've always just done special editions and things like that. They said, yes, you could go through Amazon, you could go through Ingram, but I guess BookVault, just like they do with my special editions, if somebody buys a bundle, I don't have to manually do anything. I don't have to go to Amazon and order them. They would go through my website, buy the bundle, get the bundle, all through BookVault. I said, what about the shipping, right? Because we're going from the UK, but apparently BookVault has, I didn't realize this, they have US printers as well. I thought they were working toward that. Turns out they're working toward that in special editions, but I guess they already have US printers. Is that correct?
Yep.
So I can use BookVault since I'm already set up with that. And then just set it all up so somebody buys and they receive these books. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try all different configurations of bundles, probably right with BookVault. They won't be signed. That was my only other question. But I guess you can kind of fool around with vellum and do something. I don't know much about this yet, where you can sign it and then put it into vellum.
Yes.
But it's not an actual
There's 2 ways of doing it. You can do in like physical inserts where BookVault will you sign a load of papers, like 60.
Oh, you can do
60
that.
sheets, and they put the sheets
like a tip-in
inside.
sheet or whatever.
A tip-in, whatever it's called. Yeah. Do that, or there is this electronic signing. Yeah, which I think is probably the better way of doing it.
Okay.
I think this is a great example of us needing to think about how different areas of commerce work differently from what we're used to. So we're used to effectively digital marketing with the print on demand, just sort of slotting into the side of digital marketing. But when you're talking about special editions, these print and shops, we really should be looking at the rest of Amazon to get our inspiration. And the rest of Amazon, you buy a saucepan, and at the bottom it will say bought together. Saucepan, a kettle collection, all from the same manufacturer and same seller. So they bundle that together. How many times you're on a website, they'll do, or you could buy one of these, or you could bundle together the tent and the wagon to hitch it to your car, etc. So, bundles is as old as the hills in terms of retail, but we don't think like that because we're digital.
People who direct sale do and have, and I've heard this kind of, but for some reason this time it stuck. This time it was bundles. I've heard the word bundles many times in direct. I think I was at a conference in New Orleans, and I went to an entire direct sales session. I'm sure they said it, but it's one of those, you hear it multiple times and then it just clicked. I said, of course I can do bundles. I don't know. I was thinking more box sets, but I have merchandise too, like mugs and things like that for the Border Series. So I'm immediately going to start with a Border Series bundle. And then as you're talking, I'm thinking, yeah, I can do the individual books bundled together, send a mug. Mug comes from a different place, but okay. So they're not going to get a big basket. It's not the presentation kind of thing like you're selling on Etsy. It's a little bit more pieced together, but it's just different ways to present your books. And so that was definitely a takeaway for me. I already started doing it. Do you want to know how I started doing it?
How?
With Claude, of course.
Of course.
Because it took less than 10 minutes. It's a beautiful page.
my golden retriever is outside, desperate to come in. He can't at the moment. Go on.
Yeah, no. So I took that series that I want to put in a bundle. I took the series page from my website, because they're all up there individually anyway. And I went into Cowork and I said, can you build me an optimized landing page for this series, bundled paperback? And I gave it a few things that I wanted. I wanted it to be, themed with the rest of my site, pink, black, whatever. And Cowork built me a beautiful optimized sales landing page of the bundle. Now all I have to do is put the links in there, go grab the links, put them in. Done.
Wow.
I mean, it'll a half hour's worth of work, attach it over to BookVault, and yeah. So how I do the book a day thing where I update a book a day on back matter? I think I'm going to do a bundle a day when I go home too.
Yes, that's where you give Claude access to your Chrome tab so it can go in and just do the work.
And do one a day and get them all up there.
Yeah.
So that was one of my takeaways. How about you?
So I think what we're going to talk about next is the ad session we had with Ian Moore, who's based an Edinburgh writer, and he's got a history of working in marketing, and so he talked to us really about the fundamentals of advertising, which equally apply to us as anyone else. And I think it was very good. And one of the takeaways I think that struck the room and everybody got busy trying to work out what their language was like is the simplicity of your language. And there's two things here. There's the language in your advertising, which I would extend to your blurb, and there's the language in your book that you're writing in. And there's a whole discussion here about what sort of, if you want to use the American grade system, which seems to be the ubiquitous one, whether you write grade 4, 5, 6, where you're aiming your language at, and it's a much lower grade, a much younger reading age than you think that seems to be successful commercially. So you would say a lot of off-the-shelf thrillers and romance books are written at a reading age of 9, 10, 11. I mean,
or even lower, I think he was saying.
Even lower.
So we're talking about the book now, right?
Yeah, so that's the book.
And then the ads, yeah.
But he was talking to us about the language in the ads, and he summed it up, didn't he, at the beginning of saying Saxon over Latin.
I loved that. I think that was my favorite phrase of the entire talk. I wrote it down. I asked Claude, because I was taking notes in Claude, because Claude has my context. All of the notes in the session I did in Claude in a project called SPS. And then once I took the notes, I asked, how do the notes from this session apply specifically to me? And then I got a little spit out of this is what, and the Saxon over Latin was. And do you want to know why Claude was a little saucy with me?
Oh.
Yeah. Claude said, this specifically is a good takeaway for you because you tend to, now first of all, I've never heard Latinize as an adjective, but that's how Claude used it. And I looked it up and it's proper.
Okay.
You tend to Latinize your advertising and your blurbs.
So you overwrite it.
Specifically in my historical romance. It said you do a better job in contemporary, but when you're advertising your historical romance, I guess I'm trying to sound more historical and more, I'm Latinizing it. And what that means is, I think the example that really hit home was just Saxon language is short, direct, easy to understand, free. Latin would be complementary, right? It literally comes from Latin. Well, that might be wonderful, the word complementary in your book, but when you're looking at advertising, you want simple, direct. I'm going to go Saxon. Is Saxonize a word too?
I think you can make it a word.
I'm going to Saxonize
Although,
my ad.
is Saxonize a Latinized word?
Oh, good question.
Have you overwritten it? So yes. So instead of saying complimentary, you say free. It's a small example.
Yeah.
But you should look at your blurbs and make sure it's simple, direct, because studies have shown it goes in and people are more likely to act on it. And I think that's been borne out well before we came along in digital marketing. Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting session, and there was something called the FOG test, wasn't it? Do you remember what that stood for?
The FOG index.
FOG index.
Right. It reminded me of a readability. So a lot of people are familiar with readability because I think it's built into Pro Writing Aid, our sponsor.
Yep.
And readability is, obviously what you were talking about before for our book. What grade level is it at? We should be writing probably a little lower than we think. The FOG index, I think, is specifically more for advertising. And so advertisers use it. And by the way, he owned an ad agency, right?
Yeah.
20 years. I mean, this is a guy with a lot of experience. You could tell that it was such a good session.
Won a lot of awards.
He won a lot of awards. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he said that.
That's very impressive. But the FOG index, you can put in your writing, put in 100 words or put in your ad, and then see where it ended up. And there were people at my table that, it was 10, 11, 12th grade level. And he's like, you gotta
peg it back. So
Yeah,
you
so
can
check that out.
take a sample of your book, like 100 words. There's a formula which we'll put into the show notes. Basically, you count how many sentences are in that 100 words, how many words are in each sentence, and how many 3-syllable words or more, and you get an index out of that, which is at 0.5, 0.67, and so on. Okay, so that will give you an idea of whether you're pitching your book a bit too. I mean, obviously, if you're writing literary fiction and you want it to sit alongside Ian Banks or something here in the UK, or Maggie O'Farrell, whatever, then maybe you are deliberately Latinizing your word. Maybe you're deliberately making the reading part of the experience. But I think for the vast majority of us writing genre fiction, we're telling stories, and the more readable it is, to put it bluntly, the lower the reading age is, the more commercially successful it's likely to be. So that's the harsh truth of that.
Something I need to work on, I think, especially in historical.
But you're too intelligent and well read.
Oh, definitely. That is the problem.
You are Dr. Mecca.
Doctoressa, according to Ricardo.
Doctoressa Mecca of English. You're a professor of English or a doctor of English? History? I don't know.
Curriculum and instruction, language and literacy.
All I know is it's not meant. All I know is if I start clutching my left arm and fall to the ground,
I cannot help you.
Having a doctor of English here is not going to be much help. Yeah, having a geologist is
No,
not.
I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. So
Okay.
yeah, that was really interesting. What else?
Okay, I've got another little nugget. So this is something I spoke up and talked to the room about, and it's about non-openers on your mailing list. So those of you with a mailing list, some of you will do some what we call mailing list hygiene from time to time. At its most simple, it's simply deleting the people who've already opted out. So they're not taking up space on your mailing list and not taking up cost, because you pay usually for the size of your list. But at its more complicated, it's a re-engagement campaign for people who are no longer opening your email. So you might isolate the people who haven't opened an email in, say, 6 months, and send them a sequence of 3 emails that allows them to opt back to indicate to you they want to stay on the list by clicking a button. And if by the end of those 3 emails, and the last one basically says, we're saying goodbye to you, last chance to click the button, you then delete them after that. Now, I don't know if a lot of people do this, and you may not do this, but I'm here to tell you, because I've just been through the ringer with my mailing list provider for this mailing list, for the self-publishing show mailing list, which is quite big. I've been through the ringer and almost got struck off by them because I haven't been doing this enough. And something has changed in the last year or so, because there's so much mail being produced now. AI is almost certainly responsible for quadrupling the number of emails that are being written and personalized and sent out. And it's becoming a menace. So one thing that the mailing list providers, one thing the big domain providers like Google and Microsoft and so on, and Yahoo, etc., one thing they don't like is sending emails to people who are not engaged and not opening. So what's happening is at that level, at the Yahoo, Google level, they're stopping to send them. So when I had some work done on my account, I use Keep, which used to be called Infusionsoft, And we had 330,000 odd names on it not that long ago. It's fewer now. But when they looked at that, they said, these people here who haven't opened an email in a year or more, they're not seeing your emails. There was no harm in me. I was worried about deleting them because maybe I send that one email a year when they want to buy a course, and they'll buy the course and they'll come to the show. But this guy was saying they are no longer seeing your emails. That's not how this works anymore. They're not opening for a period of time. They stop getting them, and they score you down because you're still sending to people. So your open rate goes down and down and down because there's no chance of them opening it. They're not going to see the email because you're getting worse. Keep itself will move me off their prime servers onto a poorer quality server, so your open rates will get even lower, your deliverability gets even lower. So we need to take this seriously. We need to be going through whichever platform you use. There's usually a way of isolating people who have not opened your emails. There's two things you can do. One is you can do a re-engagement campaign as at some point, and then delete the ones who are not engaging. So your open rates will go up. From a smaller pool, you have a more active pool. But the other thing you can do immediately is when you send your emails out, your broadcast emails out, don't send them to everyone on your list. Only send them to people who've opened your emails in the last 30 days. And you'll suddenly find your open rates between 60 and 70%. That, by the way, is what we're looking for now. There's days of 20% being a good open rate, 10% being not that bad but not great. We now need to be up between 60 and 70%. Otherwise, the ISPs are going to start looking at you as a poor quality person. And they're using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, I guess, because they're up against this AI deluge, but this is what's going to happen. And so I was honest with people. If you have a list of 5,000 or more, I think this is particularly pertinent for you. If you've got a list of a few hundred, maybe it's not such a threat to you. But if you've got bigger lists, you definitely need to be doing this.
Well, that was a wake-up call to me because I use Flowdesk, so you don't get penalized. You don't pay for
number of emails you have. Yeah, so that makes you a bit complacent.
it. Absolutely. As you were talking, I said, okay, I wrote that down. Re-engagement campaign as soon as I go home and get my bearings back in the States. And definitely this is something I'm doing because I thought, well, what's the harm in sending it to people who I don't pay for them? I've done re-engagement campaigns in the past, but I looked when you were talking, and I think the last re-engagement campaign I did was almost a year and a half ago. So that's not going to cut it.
No, and you've got to be brutal afterwards and get rid of them. So, okay.
So I'm going to do that.
So we talked about that. Also, we had Avery Maxwell in the room. He's a very good romance author. In fact, she's sitting in my kitchen over there at the moment. We're going to travel back to the States together tomorrow. And Avery talked about newsletters. So I would say particularly in the romance field, I hope this isn't going to skew Avery's also boughts, but you should probably seek out Avery Maxwell and join her mailing list to have a look at her newsletters. Because she's really sets the standard, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And she talked to the room about engagement, reader engagement and newsletters. Tammy Lebrec, I'll give a shout out to her, by the way, if you want to learn more about this area and you want to improve your newsletter sending. Tammy has a range of courses to suit wherever you are in your newsletter sending career, whether you're just starting or you're looking to scale up what you've already got. In fact, Tammy's so good, we're bringing her into Vinci Books in the next couple of weeks to do some free education for our authors to help them.
Really nice. Avery helped me with my newsletter. I think it was either last year in New Orleans. We have a little mini mastermind in New Orleans, or 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago. And she talked about consistency, a consistent format, and I kind of rehauled my whole newsletter. Now it's a very consistent format. I was sending every other week. Now it's every Tuesday, same exact format. It's, inspired by Avery, but, my own, obviously. And my rates went up. It did take a little bit. The first month, I'm very impatient, James. I don't know if you knew that, but the first month,
we all are.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think it's working. I said, how can they see it if my beautiful, consistent format, if they haven't been opening? She said, just keep at it, keep giving them the same thing. And then when they do see it, and, within a few months, it definitely improved. So that was amazing, because newsletter really is, it's not sexy, right? I always go to these thinking I'm going to get the big, sexy, easy button where my career will change. And it turns out my notes end up being things I either heard before, but didn't implement, or some unsexy thing like you can work on your newsletter open rates, but that's a lot more people that, are seeing.
Well, I said that's exactly what I said at the beginning of the 100K panel. So authors who've sort of broken through to the amount that you need to quit your job.
Yeah.
and people love those panels. It's the big panel we always get asked for every year, but there's no silver bullet. What you're going to hear from people, the biggest takeaways is not necessarily even the kind of detail we're talking about. It's mindset and approach, and you think, okay, so there's nothing magic here. These people are just working really hard, and they're adapting and stopping to do things that aren't working, and they're doing more of the stuff that is working. Pretty basic formula, but
Yeah, basic, but hard to always implement, because for me, I do suffer shiny new thing syndrome. Oh, so much. Yeah. No, it was really great though, and I think I'll be back next year.
Oh, well, okay. See if you're invited first.
Ouch.
Okay, two more we're going to mention. The next one is AI context. So you demonstrated to the room how you use Claude to organize your day and organize your marketing campaigns and your approach to writing, not your writing, but everything that goes around it.
My plotting and organizing.
And it was for me, the big takeaway was the difference between simply opening up a Claude chat and saying, oh, here's my spreadsheet of all my outstanding tasks, can you put dates against them? You give Claude in a project in co-work, so it's always there, a huge amount of context about your business, what you're trying to achieve, your medium and long-term plans. And within that, that's when you say, can I do this?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing this, and we'll talk about TikTok, for instance, in a moment. I'm thinking about doing this, and then Claude, instead of saying, oh yeah, this works for some people, doesn't work for other people, but I think you should give it a go. Claude says to you, now hang on, Sissy, this is what your priorities are for this couple of months. And having that level of use of Claude was a step above what anyone else in the room is doing with it.
Well, thank you. I've made it a study of, trying to use AI on the back end to... I have really bad memory. I'm a little bit like Dory, where, I just lots of squirrels. And so it's really helped me organize. Hey, by the way, you have a book. And of course I have calendars and things like that, but just organizing all of the things, all of the pen names. And so the takeaway there is the context, I think, and I have people say, well, I don't know. I go on and I chat, but I don't get that level of detail that you get. It's because you don't have as much context. I have a ridiculous amount of context. If I have, for instance, a project. So they all have, Claude has projects, Gemini has gems. They all have areas where you can give it context in the forms of files, in the forms of instructions, where it stays there. And so when you go and ask a question in a chat, in a project, it's different than just a global chat because it has these files. Well, I've been building this command center file that I called it. It's probably 50 pages at this point. But in the beginning, it was just, okay, what do I need to put in this command center besides I have 3 pen names and this is all the things. Well, how about your stats? All right, let's go to KDP, print out my lifetime KDP data. It has that, and every single thing you add to it gives it more context. So when I went in, we were in a session with TikTok. Were you in the TikTok session?
Yes.
Okay. So when we went into the TikTok session, I was inspired by the idea of not even needing a viral TikTok necessarily, which would be the gold standard and amazing. But this particular person, woman, what was her name? That was
Jen Taylor-Gray.
Yes. She is just consistent at it. Multiple times a day posting, has tested and knows what to post, but she wasn't having necessarily viral TikToks all the time.
She's having 600 views.
500 views, 600 views. I said, and you're using this as your advertising. So I went in immediately into Claude, and I do have a project just for social media because I run social media audits every Thursday on Cowork. I go in and I say, go ahead and look at, and it does, my TikTok for the last week, my Instagram for the last week, my Facebook group for the last week, and do a little mini audit. I have that set up as a project, and it goes in through a connector, Claude and Chrome, and it looks at all of that and says, okay, in the last week, this was the best format. And it will tell me the format to post. So I went in there because it knows all of my TikToks. The first audit I did, it did a lifetime audit of my TikTok, a lifetime audit of my Instagram. I said, okay, she's doing this and I'm going to start posting 3 times a day, and I'm not going to worry about I'm not hitting 50,000 views and just consistency and all of that. And Claude was like, whoa, we're using your TikTok for, just, what was the word? Exposure. There's a word for that in the advertising.
Awareness.
Yeah. You're using TikTok for awareness, not sales. like take a back seat. So I had to kind of go back and forth. And remember what I said this morning? I said, I finally got Claude to agree
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
that we can test it. But it was a nice guardrail because it didn't want me, because it knows data is my weak point. Doing things because they're shiny and new, doing things because I like them, not necessarily because they're backed by data or can be tracked. It said, fine, you want to test TikTok 3 times a day. Let's do it with something we can track. We're going to stop and book one ad on an older series, Order of the Broken Blade. It's a 4-book series. We're going to stop the ad. We're going to do nothing else. You're going to take it out of even the bottom of my newsletter footer. It told me to take it out because I have like all my series down there. We'll do that for a few weeks. And then when we have a complete baseline, then you can test it, because you're not spending 3 times a day doing something that may or may not be working. So we have come to an understanding.
Yep.
But it was good for it to have that context. And there you go. I did 2 in 1, James. I don't know if you noticed that. I got the TikTok in, but I'm going to try that.
Well, the TikTok talk was very interesting. So Jen is excellent. She's been popping up on my TikTok feed for a while now. I was delighted that she came to the retreat. But she's written book 1. She's writing book 2. She'd been in the trenches for querying kind of the normal route until she discovered indie. And she is very, very good on TikTok. I don't think she realizes how good she is. She's got a natural asset. But actually, when you talk to her, it's hard work. And she's obviously, she makes it look easy on TikTok, but it was hard work. But she knows a lot about instinctively what works on TikTok. And it goes back again to posting often. So three times a week is very important for that.
3 times a day.
3 times a day, sorry. Yeah, not 3 times a week. We wish. And it's something I'd realised a little while ago, actually, because I've got to June and I don't do very much on my books. Unfortunately, I just don't have the time. My focus has been on writing, but I finished writing at the end of May, drafting book 5 and book 4. And I spent a couple of days on my next few mornings analysing my sales, which are not good this year. So last year I made a decent profit for me for 2.5 books. This year I think I'm break even or maybe a little loss. I can't remember now, but it wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't profitable. I think the difference is, and I was thinking about Facebook ads at first. I just thought, well, everyone's saying Facebook ads are tanking and they're not working for them at the moment. I guess I wasn't paying attention and that's happened to me. But actually the difference is I was active on TikTok last year and I'm not this year. And I bet that's it. And I was saying to you, Sissy, how cool would it be for both of us if we discovered we could stop our paid ads and just do TikTok? Because your profit will immediately jump by, what do you spend, 20% of your income on ads?
On a normal
So suddenly
month, yeah.
you get that 20% back. And in my case, I spend more like 50%.
Do you?
So, yeah. In fact, this year, probably 100% because I've been breaking even. So that's going to be really interesting to get back onto the TikTok train.
Are you getting back on the train too?
Well, I've got to. Got to.
So we're both going to get back on the train.
And I'm going to AI the hell out of it. I'm going to use AI to help me with hooks and ideas, and I'm going to use Marvin Way's Author Scale. I subscribe to Author Scale. I'm going to use that. It's a great service for dropping in sort of slideshows, and we're going to do some page flips and stuff. So we'll get Marvin onto the show at some point soon to talk about that as well. He was at the shows at SBS Live and he did an excellent presentation on this. So I think that'd be really cool. I actually enjoy doing TikTok as well. I really enjoy it, but it's time.
Too. And I always worry, I enjoy it more than it actually works. And so I did let my guess. I think I get discouraged. I've been on TikTok for a few years now, and maybe a few thousand views here and there, but usually it's a few hundred, 400 or 500. So I was really encouraged listening to her talk. That's her primary engine to get the books out there. And I'm like, wait, I can do this too. I just maybe need to post a little bit more deliberately. I also I asked my social media project for Claude. I said, what has been consistently over the last 2 months since we started doing this, my kind of number one hook on TikTok. And so I'm going to start with just that for the first few months. It's been a confession, by the way, when it does the audits and looks through, which I never saw as me doing a confession hook. Turns out I accidentally stumbled on something worked for me. It was a confession. I have a confession.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to try that because
I thought you were going to confess. To
no, I don't actually.
No, okay.
This is the problem.
You don't
I
have
have
a
to come out with a
confession.
confession hook, and I don't have a confession. But I have a confession. I wrote a hero who accidentally, is steamier than he was supposed to be.
I wrote a hero that I've fallen in love with.
Yeah. Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have that one for
My
free.
husband would be like, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah, he doesn't follow you on TikTok. I've got a Instagram account which is me, Jazz Blatch or something it says, and it's me posting pictures of the dogs and the walks around here and stuff like that. I don't know whether I'm going to turn that into another, because TikTok is Cold War James, whether I'm going to turn that into Cold War James on Instagram, because it's got a few followers, or whether I start a new Cold War James on Instagram, and Reels. We need to do, both of us, when we do this, it's 3 places, right, isn't it?
But we could repurpose and
somebody, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Somebody was talking about using Vista for their posting.
I heard it. I haven't tried it before, so I have nothing to add there.
I think that was Jen who was using Vista to do that. So we'll look into that platform for posting. Hopefully it cross posts as well, because that's going to make life a lot easier. Okay, I think they were the takeaways we noted.
They were the big ones. Yeah, they're going to be seeing us on TikTok, I guess, now.
Yeah,
the two of us 3 times a day. This is
we'll report back how that goes. So we learnt lots. I mean, you always come away from this slightly buzzing. Most of all, you come away from it very motivated and excited. Yep. And also you come away with a slightly fuller heart, I think, because you spend time with friends.
Yep.
And for a lot of us whose partners don't write and aren't in this world, it's actually really important to spend time with people who are thinking about the same stuff as us every day.
Yeah.
Delighted. I was particularly delighted for the retreat to see people coming along who hadn't been before and didn't know anyone else there. Because I think even at age 59 that I am, that's quite a brave thing to do. And I was really pleased to see that. So, so that was lovely. If you want to take part in either of those events next year, SPS Live tickets will go on sale soon, probably in July. And we will then talk about the retreat for next year as well. But there's only going to be 32 spaces in the retreat. I think we landed on that being the sweet spot. So
yeah, it was a perfect size, I think.
Yeah, so we may do another one. Maybe we'll do something in the winter or the spring, but we'll see. That's it, Sissy Mac. I think my wife wants to whisk us off to the pub.
All right. I mean, I'm okay with that. It'll be my last English pub.
You love a pub, and I've got to edit the podcast, so maybe you go without me for a bit, and I'll catch up with you. Okay. And you've then got to get on a hairy plane tomorrow.
What's a hairy plane?
A hairy plane is just a fun way of saying aeroplane.
Oh, I thought it was a special kind of plane.
You don't say aeroplane, do you? We say aeroplane. You say airplane.
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 We say aeroplane.
Like with an A-E-R-O?
Yes.
Is that how you spell it?
Aerodynamic plane. I mean, I was going to be all British and say that's the correct way of saying it. What you say is wrong, but we all say plane, don't we?
And we have a match to watch. Is that what you call it?
We have a match to watch because England are playing Croatia tonight. We have of all the games I've seen, all the teams kicking off they're the first game in the group stage of the World Cup. You can lose it and still win the World Cup eventually because you have a round robin of 2 other teams. We've got a tough opener. Croatia is a hard side. I don't know if Luka Modric is still playing for them, but he was one of the best World Cup players of all time. Hopefully he's retired because he's quite old. But anyway, you're going to be exposed to all of this nonsense tonight.
I can't wait.
Hopefully wearing an England shirt for the final for you.
So that's that.
That's that. Thank you very much indeed. Hope you enjoyed our little ramble. We will be here next Friday and can't wait to catch up with you again. Have a lovely weekend.
Ciao.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
The Self-Publishing Show is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Built by writers for writers. Pro Writing Aid doesn't just check spelling and grammar, it helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings and more. Now it can provide even on-demand developmental feedback for your entire manuscript with its manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Give your writing a competitive advantage by heading to prowritingaid.com. Sign up for free and use the code IWC15 for a 15% discount on annual subscriptions.